So this is a statement by the CSO Reference Group, the Interreligious Council, the National Council of NGOs, and the National Coalition of Human Rights Defenders on the publicizing of the PBO Taskforce report, which is yet to be publicized, commencement of the Public Benefits Organization Act 2013, and generally on the shrinking space of civil society organizations in the country. The Civil Society Organizations Reference Group, jointly with the Interreligious Council, the National Council of NGOs, and the National Coalition of Human Rights Defenders Kenya, wish to express our concern over the PBO Task Force process. The government of Kenya, through the Ministry of Devolution and Planning, created a 13-member task force, which was gazetted on the 30th of October 2014, to review documents related to the proposed amendments by holding consultative meetings with stakeholders and public on the amendments and submitting a final report to the Cabinet Secretary within 3 months from the date of gazettement. On the 21st of May 2015, 7 months later after the Gazette notice, not 3 months, the Task Force on the PBO Act 2013, under the leadership of Honorable Sophia Abdi Nur, presented their report to the Cabinet Secretary for Devolution, Ms. Anne Waiguru, in the presence of the national media. We, as the CSO Reference Group, attended and recorded all of the public hearings convened by the PBO Task Force between January and April 2015. Following our careful review of the process and assessment of the 10 recommendations made in the reports, we have the following statement to make. Number 1, despite the challenges around public participation at the beginning of the process, we acknowledge that a wide range of citizens, citizen groups, public benefit organizations, foundations, public officials, and development partners had an opportunity to speak before the task force.
Number 2, however, we express deep disappointment that the PBO Task Force and the Cabinet Secretary have not made the report publicly available. This was a key recommendation of many stakeholders who participated in the forums. The failure to do this breeds mistrust and a lack of confidence in the state's implementation of the recommendations contained in the report. Third, the task force also missed an opportunity to carry forward citizens' recommendations for an immediate commencement of the Public Benefits Organizations Act of 2013. The PBO Act was passed by the 10th Parliament and assented to by President Mwai Kibaki nearly 3 years ago. Therefore, there is no compelling justification for this inordinate delay. We reiterate Kenyans' call for the immediate commencement. 28 months is unnecessarily long. Fourth, we are happy that the recommendations reflect Kenya's views to not carry forward any restrictions on funding or domestic philanthropy. We recognize the task force has heard citizens' recommendations that emphasize on an enabling environment, funding transparency and collaborative relationships between national and county governments and public benefits organizations. With this, we trust the hostility to civil society organizations and public benefits organizations will cease henceforth.
The value of civil society or public benefits organizations is that we can give voice of the diversity of the Kenyan nation. We would like to call on the Kenyan government to discontinue the unwarranted harassment of non-governmental organizations in the country due to their legitimate human rights work. Muhuri and Haki Africa were both listed as specified entities suspected to be linked to Al-Shabaab terror group due to their demand for accountability for human rights violations perpetrated by the Kenya security forces. The treatment of Haki Africa and Muhuri threatens not only the freedom of action of all independent organizations operating in Kenya, but also the rights to freedom of expression and assembly of all Kenyans. We are aware justice not dispensed breeds hatred, revenge, and possibly the terror we are facing in the country. We recognize the state's obligation to protect its citizens in the onslaught of terrorist threats in Kenya. However, we also recognize the state's obligation to uphold fundamental freedoms. We therefore call on the government of the day to facilitate a positive working environment for non-governmental organizations and ensure they are also regulated in accordance with the Kenyan Constitution and international human rights standards. In line with the views expressed by majority of Kenyans to the task force, we call for the immediate commencement of the PBO Act 2013 within 14 days. Failure to which civil society organization, reference group, in the Religious Council, National Coalition of Human Rights Defenders, Kenya, and the National Council eventually will take action. And we promise we will take action that will be visible in this country. Thank you.